The
Elitist
Pizza.
podcast. Oh, and before I forget, there's something that you said yesterday that I said we are going to bring up today. And I didn't want to forget, so I
Okay.
actually made a little bit of an effort to commit this to memory.
Okay.
But I remember you saying that Red Hood's approach to crime,
Oh
like
yeah.
stop, like yeah, I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that. I thought it was an interesting conversation, but just
Yeah.
wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
But I try to commit that to memory.
I had no idea what you were talking about. Like what the fuck? Like what did I mention? Okay, so I'm just gonna make this whole monologue, and you stop
Hmm.
me when you want to talk about it. I got this from another guy online, but so crime is a necessary component of a society. In Great Britain in the 19th century, uh, like more people were going to medical school. It was like more people went to medical school than they ever did. And but like in order to graduate, you had to have a corpse and dissect it or something like that.
Hmm.
But there was only so many corpses you could get legally. So it was like a thing where you would go out, you and your buddies, you'd go out and you'd go grave robbing, like to someone like you hang around the funeral. See, okay, this guy was just buried. Let's go there tonight and sell it to some medical school kid or some people who did experiments on bodies, and you'd make everyone would make like the equivalent of like $500 a night doing this. So it was very lucrative,
Right.
and so the idea was, and so people obviously their graves were desecrated and stuff. Same thing for skeletons and stuff too. And so eventually they like expanded legal ways to do it, like donating your body to science and stuff. But like the idea is
Yeah.
like that crime was socially necessary. Like people needed those corpses. So the market, because almost all crime is based somehow comes down to getting resources, except for like
Right.
serial killers and stuff. Organized crime is about getting resources. Um, and so the where there's demand, there's going to be supply. So if there's demand for drugs, someone's going to supply it. That's just the way it is. If there's demand for killing, someone's going to be a hitman. There's going to be a hitman. I mean, a hit person. Got to be woke. And so,
Yeah.
um, if you're gonna have that, just like how it's kind of like maybe you feel differently, but if you're gonna have people are gonna gamble, so we should have casinos, but they should be regulated to make sure that they're fair and people aren't like getting their faces broken because they're gambling addicts. And so you can almost take that concept and say, okay, but what Red Hood was doing, he was doing the same thing. He was accepting that people are gonna buy drugs. Hey, at least I should regulate it. And I mean, obviously trying to kill Batman and making a bunch of money off of it aren't really good things to do. But in insofar as I'm commenting on his approach to crime itself, I think that he actually had the better idea there.
I think that's an interesting thing. I never thought about it. I mean, obviously the way the movie presents it, it's like he's just a bad guy, so it's like
Yeah,
whatever. But I mean, if you think about it, if I was living in that world,
you would
and
prefer it,
I'm
right? I mean, it would be better to
yeah,
be
I prefer. Well,
crime
I
went down.
if I was
Crime
a
was down.
civilian, if I yeah exactly because Batman, obviously there's always people who make that case that Batman makes more crime than stops it, which is absolutely true.
Yeah,
Um, because the Joker literally wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Batman.
and he could always
And
just
some of
kill
these
him
other
too.
criminals, yeah, and so, exactly, and you know, I think yeah, Red Hood probably did have the right idea. I'm glad you liked that film, by the way. It was a good
Oh
pick.
yeah, that was good. I don't. I think it. I mean, I think it probably like could have had a trilogy or something. Honestly, I don't. I think I'm just a huge fanboy for Batman, and I just like
Yeah,
I want more. But I
try to
felt
get.
like it wasn't
They
long
have a
enough.
yeah, they have a an interactive movie they just came out with called Death and Family. It's about like basically
Oh
kind of you
yeah.
make the choices on what happens. It's in that same universe, but you can change what happens. You could have one where Jason just doesn't die.
Oh.
He gets beaten and everything by the Joker. He just doesn't die, or like he escapes, but he still gets like pretty destroyed. Or I think there's one where Batman dies,
Oh.
and the one where Batman dies, like he becomes Red Robin, and he's still like killing everybody, but
Yeah.
it's because Batman died rather than
That'd be edgy. It's
obviously.
like the only man who ever loved me, killed by these savages. I'll make sure that never happens again.
It's kind of like that, to
That's
be honest. He
yeah.
grabs like a he has like
The
a
bat gun,
bazooka. The same, yeah,
the Robin
dude.
gun, Robin
The
rifle.
Robbie gun. um, glad you got to see
Yeah,
Peak Red Hood. I don't know.
I think a live action
Under the
movie
Red Hood.
movie or three would be
They
cool.
need a couple because you're gonna have to, or I was thinking about this now that you read it, I was thinking about this if we were doing the show. I mean, that'd be another way to expand it, just telling another
Yeah,
Batman related story. I mean, you have to set up a
that would
lot of
be a
things.
prequel. Well, you could. The thing is that you could just do it 2 or 3 movies. We could do one movie with just the Jason Todd story, and maybe the end is the stuff with Joker, and then
Yeah,
the second movie is like the one we got with the animated one. Um,
and then
or-
third is just the kind of fallout after
yeah,
that, because I mean, as it's presented in the movie, it's like he kind of just goes away, but
yeah,
he
that's
really
true.
doesn't. He really doesn't just go away. Like he's still doing stuff. They just
Well,
um
what if the second one was like most of it was Batman like doing detective work, trying to figure out who this guy is, and or something. And
oh
so number one is
you
like
could go
so
ahead. Sorry.
one is Jason Todd's story, the original Jason Todd story before he becomes Red Hood. Two is the aftermath, 5 years later or whatever, and then Jason Todd comes back, and then maybe it's revealed that Batman is Jason Todd at the end of the second movie, and then the third movie it's him fighting him.
That could work, yeah. And then he leaves at the end, and then whatever happens. I do want to say that if we were doing it in the show, it wouldn't really have to be a prequel. Um,
Well,
well,
if it's
I
consistent with our previous plan, it would have to be a prequel
no,
because we
wouldn't.
wanted to start out with a Tim Drake.
Yeah, Tim Drake is he's Robin during the time uh what's his face Jason Todd comes back. That's part of the reason that Jason was mad. It's because it took Batman like 2 weeks to replace him. They didn't really
In the
touch on it that
movie.
much in the movie.
Oh,
They didn't touch, but he brings it up a lot.
2 weeks.
Or uh,
Next
it
day
was
he's
like
got Tim.
remember, and he was like next day he's like yeah,
Well,
but
gotta
no,
get another one.
Tim Drake is because Nightwing. I mean, Dick Grayson's already Nightwing.
Yeah.
Tim Drake, I think he might just be off with the Teen Titans doing something, so we
Okay,
don't really
yeah.
see what he's doing
But
there,
he's
or
still there. Yeah, they just didn't.
he
I
is
think they just
he's
didn't want to explain it in the movie. They didn't want to have to
yeah
explain who this Robin is or something.
right yeah
So
he's and that time frame he is the Robin.
okay.
But and then it could just be a thing where he's just Bruce is like, go away. I don't want you to go
Yeah.
away. I don't want
This is
to. I don't
too
want you to do
important.
anything.
Yeah. You might just straight up get shot. So this guy's
Yeah,
badass. Like just leave.
because he does it. You see it in the Arkham games, which is a relationship they do pretty well. I mean, not saying they don't do a lot of things well.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff. That, by the way, I just beat Arkham City again.
Oh yeah.
And the
Regular or New Game
relationship
Plus?
regular. I'm gonna do New Game Plus pretty soon. But I was playing in that 70s suit, by the way.
Yeah.
Man, that thing is just so clean.
Which one do I
But
usually
the
use?
relationship they show between a little bit they show with him and Tim Drake,
Yeah.
it's like
In the
I mean
expansion with Harley
yeah
Quinn's Revenge.
yeah the way he treats him. I mean almost everything in that game feels like it's ripped straight out of the comics, but their relationship as well. It's just like that.
Yeah.
Batman's kind of pushing him away
Because like Tim
because he
Drake
doesn't want.
saves Batman before he saves the firefighters, and he's
Yeah,
like, first thing Batman asks is, "What's going on with the firefighters?" He's like, "Oh, we're gonna go save them now." He's like, he says something like, "All right, dipshit, like, why the fuck did you save me first? You know, what the
yeah.
fuck you doing?" But really though, because the bombs were there, it probably would have taken Tim Drake longer to defuse the bombs and defeat the guys to save the firefighters than it took for him to free Batman, and then they both do it.
Batman
So
was kind of tripping, but Batman always treats Tim pretty poorly.
exactly, yeah.
But that's because of what happened to Jason Todd. It's
Doesn't want him
directly
to go.
because
Doesn't want to get too attached. Doesn't want to go to his head either.
yeah, exactly. And then because he had a soft spot for Jason and kind of just let him
Yeah.
do his thing. Obviously saw that there. It gets a little bit more expansion in the comics. Obviously, the reason Jason went after the Joker is because Jason's mom actually ended up being alive or something,
Oh, okay.
and the Joker had her, and he was like, "Ah, I'll free you." I think his mom was actually working with the Joker, and then she didn't know her son was gonna die, something like that, or maybe it was just some other woman.
But it was
But
some. There was a
he lures him.
personal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he does. So he doesn't tell. He obviously doesn't tell Batman, and he just goes
Yeah.
and dips off and tries
That's
to
probably the thing
save
too.
her.
There's probably trust issues between Tim and Bruce because Bruce is kind of worried that Tim is gonna be kind of going around behind his back, which he kind of does, if I remember right.
Oh, he does. He does all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is
they all
maybe he
go
has
behind his
to.
back.
But
Yeah, he kind of has to because the way Bruce treats him, he just doesn't let him do anything.
what are you doing? Not being subscribed to the Elitist Pizza Podcast on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube? Do it now. Give us money.